That and the fact he's particularly inspired by the new 911 GT3 Cup car from Porsche. For more on that, let's check in with Jamie Howe.
For the 2010 racing season, Porsche has debuted their new GT3 Cup car. This car makes up the platinum class of the series, but what you might not realize is how closely this car relates to the production line.
The car itself is based off of the GT3 road car. The engine is based off of the GT3 road car engine as well. It's a monocoque vehicle, so it comes off of the production line in Germany, and they put the frame in, and it is a production car basically. So it is very close to the road car that people would drive.
Whether on the street or on the track, it's easy to see the advancements in the car and the changes in the design.
It's a new advancement. It's the first time we've done this in 3 years, so it's a big step forwards for us. There's a change in the aero package in the front and also on the rear of the car. So there's some updates there. You can see the wider arches on the front. It's got 9 inches wider on the rear of the car. It's got a different intake on the engine. It's got a bigger wing on the rear, higher wing, so there's a big improvement on the aerodynamics of the car, which is really shown here this weekend. And one of the big things as well, the engine's moved up to a 3.8 litre from a 3.6, which it was in previous years. So it's an exciting car. I mean, it's a big step forwards for Porsche. I think everybody that's bought one of these cars has seen a big benefit on them. We've heard nothing but good things, so it's exciting for us.
More power, more aerodynamic downforce, more mechanical grip. It's the package, folks. Something very special indeed. Watch this moment here. A huge off by the number 16 of Chris Cumming. That World Speed Motorsports car, earlier I said it was his debut in saloon cars or tin tops. Well, these are very much more serious sports cars, and he's learned a valuable lesson. That was a full course caution. On the restart, Ross Smith doing exactly what he did before, jumps out into a bit of a lead and starts to draw away. The 24 of Carlos Eduardo was still right there in the gold class, hanging on as well. You see him right there comes Carlos in that very, very flashy NGT Porsche, orange with that gold reflective color. When you see that up close and in person, folks, a good reason to come out to these races. These cars are stunning, and they certainly sound great. Some great battling going on. That blue and yellow car, the 47 of John Baker, right in the heat of the battle. And the reason that battle's so fierce is right behind him is the battle for the final podium spot in the Gold Cup category. There it is, the 26 of Enrique Cisneros, the 58 of Amadeo Quiros, and then the number 44 of Brent Holden, who's another platinum car. Oh, and you heard some brake lock up into that challenging turn 7, the hairpin. And there, Peter Lasafra in that green car goes off. He had some company as he ran wide as well. I think that was the 82 of Lloyd Hawkins. And they were able to get going, but then further around on the lap, the 65 of Rob Walton into the tires. Now, he was able to back it out of the tires and continue, but there was some damage deep underneath that he was not aware of. And although he was able to regain the track, accelerated hard, thought he might have gotten away with one, watch what happens here as he is going to have something cut one of those Yokohama ENVR2s right there. You see it drops down, then you see the tire starting to flail, and what happened was something had let go, the bodywork had come down and sliced that tire, and his day was done. Fortunately, he was able to pull off to the side of the road. Meanwhile, the number 26 of Enrique Cisneros, one of those 3 brothers we talked about, is leading the 58 of Amadeo Quiros, and look at that big moment right there. Amadeo very aggressive on the throttle, doing everything he can to try and get a run on Enrique Cisneros. As I said, that's the battle for the last spot on the podium for the gold category. There is Ross Smith as he comes by the limping car of Walton, just trying to make his way back into pit lane, but he's got another car in front of him, so he just stops. Meanwhile, the 55 of Jorge Trejos starting to close in on Javier Quiros. We go back in the order just a little bit. 03 Matt Einstein and another of the brothers, the 25 of Andres Cisneros. They get into a bit of a dust-up, and that's for the contact between the 69 of Galen Beaker, who frankly had a tough weekend, and the 29, the third of those Cisneros brothers, Eduardo Cisneros. That brings out another full-course caution. Here's Galen Beaker trying to limp his car around. Pretty significant damage to the back of the car. You can see damage as well to that left rear tire from that flailing bodywork, so he's just trying to get it home. That's what kept it under full course caution, and unfortunately, that's how it would finish. Ross Smith certainly earning the platinum and overall win, and Carlos Eduardo earning the Gold Cup win. Now, when we come back, we're going to go green with Yokohama. We're going to go inside the series and then up the IMSA ladder with Ed Brown. The Patron GT3 Challenge by Yokohama is presented by the Patron Spirits Company, the #1 ultimate tequila in the world, simply perfect. And by Yokohama, where technology drives better tires. And let's take a look at the final results in the platinum category. Ross Smith, a dominant win, even though the yellow obviously bunched things up according to timing and scoring. Javier Quiros and Jorge Treos, a great battle for that second podium spot. Then Daryl Carlisle and Marco Cerrone, one of the great stories. Now, in round one here, your Yokohama hard charger was Jorge Treos, who had a great comeback drive. And Ross Smith got the BBS Wheels Fast Lap Award, setting a new lap record in the platinum class for a race lap. So a nice job there as well. Take a look there, Tim Rosengrant, then Brett Holden and John Baker. Holden and Baker had a great battle in the latter half of that first round for 7th. Then Pennington and John McMullen. Then the guys that are outside of the top 10 in the platinum class all had some problems, clearly. Peter Lasafra, we saw that big spin down in the turn 7 area. He had company with that. The 65 of Rob Walton, the off, and then the problem with the tire, and then the 16 of Chris Cumming, that orange Porsche, getting into that big hit. And all the drivers are now in Parc Fermé. Let's get down to Victory Circle.
Feels amazing, you know. It's a lot warmer out there than I thought it would be.
Good job, brother, man. Great job, man. Love you. Too. Great job.
You know, it's a lot warmer than I thought it'd be. You know, on the restarts, I think I got a little advantage on cold tires. I've been in GT cars for a little bit. So in all, I got to thank Maxwell Paper. I gotta thank my dad for getting me into racing. You know, Clay Moss helped me get this car together as well. But my guys just worked their butts off. They just nonstop, like I said, no testing, got the car ready the night before, it's ready to go on track. Win the race, can't be any more pleased.
Well, it's just unbelievable. I'm so happy. This guy is so hard to catch. You know, all these cars are the same, so you really have to fight in every turn and every braking. I'm so surprised being here in 2nd place in my first appearance. So happy that I invite everybody to come and see these races.
Oh, and someone of his credentials says, come and watch. You better pay attention. Speaking of establishing credentials, Carlos Eduardo, pole with a track record, a new race lap record on the way to the win, and a 6th overall finish. Kendall Smith, brother of Ross Smith, in 2nd. Enrique Cisneros coming out on top of Amadeo Quiros in that battle for the final podium spot. Some great racing throughout this top 10. Very close action indeed. But then you get outside of the top 10, you take a look, Alex Clayman, Nick Jones, Matt Einstein started 20th in class, ended up 13th even with that spin. A true David amongst the Goliaths. What a great story there. Then Andres Cisneros, Gary Vento. You take a look, Galen Beeker, 17th even with his issues. Eduardo Cisneros, Rodriguez, and Carter complete the top 20. And then this huge field in the Gold Cup, Han Cox Barron and Paul Barnhart Jr. complete the top 24 in that category. As always, it's time for us to get down trackside with an interview with our winner.
I just hang on to my line of race and hope that everything went out perfect, and it did. Came out perfect.
Man, it was a great race. NGT did a great job. Carlos did as well. I pushed. I wanted to keep the car fresh. Obviously, my main goal was to finish. I was in the podium, couldn't see anyone behind me. But man, Maxwell Paper Products did a great job putting this car together. All the guys, Lars Geersing, I mean, my guy Steve, Derek, crew chief. I mean, everyone did an unbelievable job. Ryan Eversley, I mean, he got me 5 seconds faster throughout the weekend. I mean, I couldn't have done this without the great people around me. You know, it just was incredible. I want to say hi to my wife, Christina, and my mom.
And also a huge factor in the success of these drivers is the Yokohama ENV R2 tire. After a year of development, Jamie tells us what's new.
Yokohama enters the 2010 season on a high note following a successful first season as the tire of choice in the series. But more importantly, they're able to return with a wealth of knowledge to debut a brand new tire for the year.
I think what we learned was that this tire that we have, the NVR1, was an extremely durable tire, and that its consistency in terms of lap times, also its overall reliability, was outstanding. With that knowledge, we've now worked with our development engineers in Japan, have created an even better tire for this season. We collect a lot of data, and what we want to do with this series is that we want to contribute to ALMS and IMSA's initiative toward eco-focused racing.
Yokohama is taking the term eco-friendly to a new level with the new tire. By using more natural rubber, not only is more orange oil being used in the tires, but more petroleum is being displaced in the manufacturing.
So in 2010, we'll be introducing the EMVR2, which is a dramatic improvement over the EMVR1, which we used last year. The biggest change year over year is that the EMVR2 will have 5% more natural rubber, thereby displacing even more petroleum-based ingredients in the manufacturing of our tires. So we estimate that this year alone, we will save enough petroleum, about 7,000 gallons of petroleum, in the process of manufacturing these tires. That's enough to have an average car travel around the world 3.5 times. So we're extremely proud of this accomplishment, and also to deliver a fantastic tire.
Developing an eco-friendly tire is not the only priority, though. The tire must also perform on the racetrack, and that's where Yokohama has proven to excel.
We've tested on 3 different tracks with 3 different drivers, and what we found is that it's extremely consistent, even more consistent than last year's tire. The lap times are slightly faster, so I think the drivers will have a lot of fun with it, and of course, from our standpoint, we're really proud of the technology that's embedded in this tire.
It is truly revolutionary, and they are a great partner to the series as well. And Mike Simons, the series manager, spent a little time telling us about what makes this series special.
The Patron GT3 Challenge by Yokohama is a series with semi-professional and amateur drivers that compete in all-spec cars from year 2005 to 2010. The series is divided into 2 classes. We have a Platinum class, which is the 2010 GT3 car, and then we have a 2005 up to 2009 Porsche GT3 cars that run in a Gold Cup. So it gives competitors, both young and old, chances to drive a new car or an old car and be on the podium. The biggest advantage for the Patron GT3 Challenge by Yokohama is that every weekend we run with the American Le Mans Series, and it gives us a great advantage of all their fans that's at the track. They get to see the series at the same time. Our goals for the Patron GT3 Challenge by Yokohama is to be the premier support series that gives the drivers the opportunity to move up to the next level in sports car racing, which is the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron.
Tremendous exposure for the competitors in this championship and some great racing, and that means some wonderful celebrations indeed. But they are not done. Every event is a doubleheader weekend. A look at the highlights from round 2 next. And we're back at Sebring, everybody. And one of the things that's remained unchanged from last year is the grid for the second race of a doubleheader weekend is based on the fast lap in round 1. Here's Ross Smith, clearly with a new race lap record. He is on the pole, joined by Darrell Carlisle, Javier Quiros, and Rob Walt in the next row. Then Jorge Trejos and Marco Cerrone. And again, Trejos and Quiros, we're really looking forward to a good battle here. Chris Cumming and Tim Rosengrant fill out row 4. Then it's John Baker and Gary Pennington. Then we go back another spot, the 44 of Brent Holden, the 73 of John McMullen, and then the 33 of Peter Lesafra completes your platinum starting lineup. We move now to the gold class, and again, Carlos Eduardo continuing his run, starts on the inside of that row, Kendall Smith alongside. Then Eduardo Cisneros, even though he had problems in the race itself, he had a very impressive lap. Launched him right up to third along with Mike Meals, then Henrique Cisneros and Amadeo Quiros with a great battle for the podium. Then Lloyd Hawkins, Galen Beaker, Steve Goldman, and Jay Policastro fill out row 5. Then Bob Rodriguez and Doug Barron in row 6. We go to row number 7 in this category. It's Alex Clayman and Matt Einstein, who had that great drive up through the pack, even with that spin in that first round of the championship. Brad Larson and Nick Jones, who made his debut in racing in open wheels, and as a matter of fact, raced in Europe for a few years, has come back to race sports cars in the States. Row 10, you take a look at Robert Hahn and Andres Cisneros, the third of the Cisneros brothers, then Vento and Policastro. And then the gold grid filled out by Pat Cox and Paul Barnhart Jr. Now, at every event, Patron is well represented at every rung of the IMSA ladder.